There we are. And I will pin Patrice so he is more visible. And Patrice, do you need to share anything, any visuals?
Nope.
No, that's great. Okay, in that case, I don't need to make you a co-host, and we listen with interest what you have to share with us. Thank you.
All right. So good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to be able to join you. I'm French, as you can tell. My accent is not yours, but I hope you will understand me correctly. So I'm president of Perspective, also regional director. I'm French, married to Julia, who is American, and we have four boys who all choose to live in America. So anyway, so we're an international family. I wanted to share with you how we cope with the lack of vocations today. In the past few years, we've had seen the number of vocations decreasing. Today, about 15% of our churches are without pastors. And I don't know how it is in England, but I know in France, quite a few churches are without pastors. And it's hard for many to deal with the lack of finances. That's why some people don't want to go in vocational ministry. Many are first generation Christians as well. And they come in faith later. Oftentimes they're married, they have kids, and it's just hard to take like 1, 2, or 3 years off to go to Bible Institute or seminary. So we have to adapt constantly to the new profile of our pastors as well as church planters who have, on one hand, a passion for Christ and they want to serve the Lord. On another hand, oftentimes they're not trained properly or financially, they just can't make the decision to go in the ministry because they are blocked financially. So most of the churches cannot fully support a pastor in France. You have to be aware of that. So some pastors choose to be bivocational. They have a job on the side and they are pastoring a church on the other side. Many church planters don't have enough funds to be able to fully be devoted to the church plant, so they will be working on the side. And some, fortunately, have some support outside and they are able to do their ministry properly. But at Perspective, we've realized that we need to be a bit more flexible when it comes to recruiting pastors and church planters. Um, and we realize that each time we have a candidate, each candidate has an issue and it doesn't necessarily fit what we would like. But we have learned that if we want perfection, we will never be able to make it. So we have to adapt constantly to the candidate we have in front of us. So if a candidate has not been trained properly, we then ask them to do a training more à la carte. We're going to do an evaluation of where they're at in their studies, what they've learned, what is their experience, and what we're going to do is design a specific training for them with different schools or even sometimes with on the internet. And we're going to assign them somebody who is going to follow up on them as far as academics and internship. So we really want to facilitate the process. We don't want to say no because you're not trained enough or you don't have enough experience, but we want to accompany them to become the pastors they need to be so that they can help the churches in France. We also realize that it's important for us to accompany them with an internal training. And we decided to focus on our DNA and also on the practical aspect of the ministry. Sometimes they have the theology, they know the doctrine, but when it comes to practical aspect of the ministry, it's something that is lacking in their ministry. So usually for 4 years, they come about 4 times a year in Paris for 2 days. And on the first day, we work on different DNA points. And on the second day, we touch the practical aspect of the ministry. So when it comes to practical aspect of the ministry, we can talk about communication, how to raise vocations in the church, how to have a church centered on the gospel, how to manage conflict, because in churches we do have conflicts every once in a while. It doesn't just happen like that. We also talk about finances, how to manage finances, how to raise funds. We talk about the relationship with the media and also the authorities, the local authorities, how to welcome and accompany people who are attracted to the same sex, for example. Right now, we are talking a lot about the gender theory, and we have to talk about that in church as well. Uh, Talking about the theology of prosperity. We have in France some churches who preach that. So anyway, there are a lot of things that we bring up so that whoever they are, they have everything they need to be able to lead their church. Um, I mean, I'm thinking about teamwork, for example, how to lead a team, how to work with deacons, with elders, how to set a vision for the church, how to handle the vision. So we are talking about all those things, and it's going really well. Because we have 15% of our churches without pastors, we realized also that it was vital to train and invest in the volunteers in the church. We can't wait till some pastors come to work with us. We just have to invest in the people who are already existing in the church. Uh, just this morning, I just finished a training in leadership. We had 35 people in Rennes coming for 2.5 hours to be trained on leadership, the different type of leadership. And they're actually all on the other side in another room, and it's exciting to see that. So less than a year ago, we started to work on the training for people who want to be involved in the church, and the key is to meet them where they are. We're aware that many of them have families, have jobs. They are very busy, very involved in their church, and so we know that they will not take a year to go to Bible Institute. We know that they are not available for a whole weekend to study. So we try to make it happen in a way that they can be free. So we offer them to come on site, but we offer them to follow the training also on Zoom. And we want to train the volunteers for the good use of their gifts, trying to help them to understand what their gifts are and how they need to surround themselves with people who have different gifts so that they can contribute to the church. And while the training must include solid theological content, it must also provide like practical know-how. Uh, when you're in a church and there is no pastor, how are you going to make a disciple? How are you going to lead somebody to Christ? How are you going to counsel somebody who is not living the life he should live? How are you going to take somebody through the water of baptisms? And so that's what we're training them for, and we teach them how to do it. We also like to work with the collective intelligence. Um, we don't want it to be a top-down type of teaching, but we will teach some, and we will have them work as a group to think through things, and we'll help them to come with a plan for their church, so that every session they do with us, uh, they have some teaching, they talk through things together, they come with ideas as a group, and they go back home with a plan that they can apply in their church. And then the next time we'll verify, how did it work? How is the work in progress? Is it all going well, or is it something that is not working well and you need to change? Or is it something that is not very clear that you need to clarify, or something that is missing and you need to add it? So anyway, we work very much as a group, as a collective intelligence. And in this type of training for volunteers, we are trying to reach any type of leader in the church, whether it's a person who is preaching, teaching, whether it's a person who is doing a house group, whether it's a, worship leader, youth leader, whatever it is, whatever. If you are a leader, you are welcome in this type of training. And the way we do it, it's like I said, it's a 4-year cycle, and it's on Saturday for about every 2 months, and we send them some work that they need to study ahead of time, and then we show them some videos, and then there is a teaching section, and they work together as a group. The content of the training, when it comes to theology, is provided by video, and at the end of the video group, and we ask questions, and we help them to uh, appropriate themselves to teaching, so that it becomes real, and they can use it. So when it comes to the different topics that we teach, for example, we talk about the mission life, we talk about Bible interpretation, we talk about leadership, discipleship, preaching, how to prepare a message, how to be culturally relevant, how to be godly, how to work on your character, how to work on a vision, how to do a group facilitation, how to accompany people in their growth. So we are talking about all those subjects. I don't know about you, if you remember. I remember being a young believer in my early 20s. I'm 54 now, but 30 years ago, I was just a new believer. Fire for the Lord. I loved reading my Bible. I loved studying the Bible, memorizing the verses, and right away, I was asked to preach. And I mean, I realized how crazy it was. Um, and I remember the tension I felt because I had no idea how to write a message. I had no idea how to how to preach, and my life was not really an example at the time. And I remember being a young believer and being asked to preach and teach and thinking, if only I could be trained to do that in my church. And it was way before I became a pastor. So it's something that has always been in my heart. It's to be able to invest in the volunteers in the church, and how can we help them to reach the next step, to reach the next level, and how can we solidify the local church. So we work on training pastors, who lack training. We also include them into like an intro training where we touch like different aspects of the ministry, practical aspects of the ministry. And we also work on the volunteers and train the volunteers in the local church so that the churches can continue to work, to grow and mature and move on to the next step. Because if we're waiting for pastors, we'll be in trouble in the next few years. Uh, but we're very happy and excited to see that quite a few pastors are applying to perspective, and we're excited about that. But as we're involved in the training of volunteers, we might create a vocation in the life of those people as well, and they might come to us and say, "Hey, I want to go a little bit further in my ministry and in serving the Lord." So anyway. And then another thing that we're working on when it comes to dealing and coping with the lack of vocations is to really work in a more intelligent way, uh, and I call it like global recruiting. We work with what we call in French le réseau FEF, which is the French Evangelical Federation network. I'm part of the board, and what we try to do is work together for human resources and for recruiting pastors. I'll never forget a few years back, I was asked to shut down a church because um, that church had no pastor, and we were trying to recruit a pastor, but we couldn't find anybody. And then there were no real leaders in that church. It was a small church. And so I was asked to close that church. And I'll never forget going back to my car, and I was in tears, just crying, 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 crying. I was so hurt. And I will never, never forget the faces of those people, the tears that I saw, and I felt so bad. And it's an experience that we'll never forget. And I'm glad I will never forget, because it really changed my heart and changed my mind. Because when I think about it now, I thought, if only I had called the different union of churches in France, maybe they had somebody that they could have moved to that church. Maybe we could have found a solution together. So with that in mind, we've been working for the last few months on putting together a network so that we can work smarter in recruiting pastors and creating vocations. And so, for example, we're helping to finance studies and internships for different potential pastors. We are also sharing now the same documents when it comes to an application form. Perspective has also worked on salaries so that we can encourage young people to go to the ministry. And little by little, we are sharing our vision, and other unions are following our path. And we are talking about getting together for interviews so that we understand better the different profiles of the pastors. We want to work together so that we can place those pastors in the right churches, in the right regions. We've talked about being more strategic also in church planting. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to find that there is a church planter with perspective who is planting a church, for example, in Rennes, and then you have a church planter from another union of churches who's planting another church in Rennes, when, for example, the Southwest needs to have more church plants. So we're working together on that. And so um, I just want to conclude with the fact that our world has changed a lot, and the society is always, always evolving. And although God and the gospel does not change, we cannot do church like the way it was before. And we need to remember that as God is calling people for vocations, in vocational ministry, we need to adapt to them and propose finances sometimes, propose a specific training because they're not trained properly. And we also need to train like the leaders in the church, the volunteers in the church, and we need to work smarter together so that nobody is falling through the cracks, and that we're not, for example, starting two churches in the same town when a church planter could go to another region, another area, and start something else somewhere else. And we need to work together as we recruit pastors for the different union of churches so that we can meet the needs. So anyway, some of the prayer points that I'd like to share with you is this need for more pastors. Pray for France. We really need pastors, and pray also for finances. Without finances, we can't move forward. Pray for training for paid workers. Pray also for training for the volunteers, and pray for this collaboration within the French Evangelical Federation network so that we can work together and not individually in our own union of churches. So that's what I wanted to share with you. We're not discouraged. We're rather encouraged by what's going on here in France, but we do need to adapt, and we do need to change the way we do things. And that's what we're trying to do. I don't know if you have any questions for me. Did you understand me?
Yes, we did. Thank you very much, Patrice. You froze in the halfway through the presentation, but the audio was fine. So we've heard everything.
Okay.
And thank you
Okay.
very much. It just says the bandwidth is low. I don't know why, but you're obviously in Rennes at the moment, and yeah, we appreciate that you're not in your normal environment. But yes, everything came across loud and clear. So thank you.